Long ago, where there is now a deep ravine, there used to be a narrow stream. No one had ever thrown a log across it, let alone built a bridge. The stream was shallow, the water scarce, but it was still impossible to leap across. Those who crossed it struggled, it was a nuisance, to say the least. In winter, it was even worse, the icy water chilled one to the bone. In those days, there lived a young man, lonely and poor, without land or fields of his own. Every day, he went to the mountains to chop firewood, crossing the stream on his way, and every day, he saw how much trouble it caused travelers. One day, he chopped a bundle of firewood, brought it to the stream, looked at the water, and thought, so many people pass through here every day. Why hasn't anyone thought of building a bridge? Let me be the one to do it. I have firewood, it may not last long, but it'll hold for a day or two. Though he felt sorry for his firewood, he took it off his shoulder and laid it across the stream. The water kept flowing, but people no longer had to take off their shoes or worry about getting their feet wet. Everyone who crossed praised him. What a kind person built this bridge. How wonderful, no hassle, no trouble. The young man walked over his little bridge every day and soon forgot about it entirely. But one day, around noon, as he was passing by, he saw a stone in the ravine move and transform into an old man. The elder approached him gently and said, "I've been waiting for you, young man, for 1,000 years. Finally, you have come. I made a vow, the one who receives 100 praises in my presence shall be granted wealth and fame." With these words, the elder waved his hand. The young man looked and saw a wide road in the distance, with a splendid palanquin shining brightly, carried by 8 bearers. Inside sat a local magistrate in a silk hat. "See that," said the elder. "Soon, you yourself will ride in such a palanquin." He waved his hand again, and everything disappeared, the road, the palanquin. The young man, envious of what he had seen, doubted the elder and said, "I don't know a single character. How could I ever become a magistrate?" The elder patted him on the shoulder and replied, "Don't worry, young man. Go and take the exams. I'll give you money for the journey. I have a few taels of silver, take them." The elder handed him the money, lay down by the stream, and turned back into a stone. The young man used the silver to buy new clothes, gathered his things, and set off for the examination hall. The moment he picked up the brush, it seemed to move across the paper on its own, and soon, his composition was complete. He was awarded the degree of Shotsi. Overjoyed, he went to the capital, passed another exam, and received the degree of Jurin. After another examination, he was granted the title of Jinshur. Then came an imperial decree appointing him magistrate of his home district. He sat in a grand palanquin carried by 8 bearers and returned to his native land in glory. His happiness and honor were beyond words. He had everything one could dream of, fresh fish and meat to eat, silk and satin to wear. The magistrate thought, the bridge I made was just a bundle of firewood, yet it brought me so much fortune and wealth. I'll build a proper bridge, big and wide, and see what happens. He ordered everyone in the district who could work to be summoned. Some hauled pure white stone from distant mountains, while others dug the earth and widened the stream. But it was springtime, the season for sowing grain. There were countless guards with long, fearsome whips overseeing the work. But as the saying goes, a big hand cannot cover the sky, and one man cannot silence 1,000 mouths. The people grumbled and wept, consumed by anger and bitterness, saying, "There's no end to the magistrate's tyranny. We're building his bridge, but when will we plant our crops? We'll be starving by autumn." After many days, the bridge was completed, but it was soaked with the people's tears. The magistrate sat in his grand palanquin, carried by 8 bearers, and was brought to the bridge. He stepped out, looked at the bridge, drove everyone away, approached the stone, and said, "Immortal, oh immortal! Look at the grand bridge I've built. What reward will you give me this time?" The stone shifted and transformed into the elder, who thought for a moment and said, "I made a vow, if one man angers 1,000, I must turn him into a black, long-eared donkey." With these words, the elder waved his hand, and the magistrate saw a narrow, uneven road ahead with a black donkey plodding along, burdened with heavy loads. Its long ears drooped under the weight. The elder waved his hand again, and both the donkey and the road disappeared.
Frightened, the magistrate asked.
Is this grand bridge worse than the little one? This one is made of white stone, as fine as jade, while the other was just a bundle of firewood.
The elder replied angrily.
I have nothing more to say to you. Think for yourself. But soon, you'll turn into a hairy donkey. Before he could finish speaking, the magistrate disappeared. In his place, near the stone, stood a black donkey. They took the donkey home and later sold it to a salt merchant. From that day on, the donkey often trudged across the grand bridge with heavy loads, but no one ever knew what it was thinking.